Western philosophy was in its infancy when Pythagoras was born. In Miletus, Greece, a group of philosophers known collectively as the Milesian School had started to seek rational explanations for natural phenomena, only a generation or so earlier, marking the beginning of the Western philosophical tradition. Pythagoras spent his childhood not far from Miletus, so it is very likely that he knew of them and may even have studied in their academy. Like Thales, the founder of the Milesian School, Pythagoras is said to have learned the rudiments of geometry during a trip to Egypt. With this background, it is not surprising that he should approach philosophical thinking in a scientific and mathematical way. Pythagoras was also a deeply religious and superstitious man. He believed in reincarnation and the transmigration of souls, and he established a religious cult with himself cast a virtual messiah in Croton, southern Italy. His disciples lived in a collective commune, following strict behavioral and dietary rules while studying his religious and philosophical theories. The Pythagoreans, as these disciples were known, saw his ideas as mystical revelations, to the extent that some of the discoveries attributed to him as revelations may in fact have come from others in the community. His ideas were recorded by his students, who included his wife Theano of Crotona and daughters. The two sides of Pythagoras' beliefs, the mystical and the scientific, seem to be irreconcilable. But Pythagoras himself does not see them as contradictory. For him, the goal of life is freedom from the cycle of reincarnation, which can be gained by adhering to a strict set of behavioral rules and by contemplation, or what we would call objective scientific thinking. In geometry and mathematics, he found truths that he regarded as self-evident, as if God-given, and worked out mathematical proofs that had the impact of divine revelation. Because these mathematical discoveries were a product of pure reasoning, Pythagoras believes they are more valuable than mere observations. For example, the Egyptians had discovered that a triangle whose sides have ratios of 3:4:5 always a right angle, and this was useful in practice such as in architecture. But Pythagoras uncovered the underlying principle behind all right-angled triangles, that the square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other two sides, and found it to be universally true. This discovery was so extraordinary and held such potential that the Pythagoreans took it to be divine revelation. Pythagoras' theorem showed that shapes and ratios are governed by principles that can be discovered. This suggested that it might be possible in time to work out the structure of the entire cosmos. Pythagoras concludes that the whole cosmos must be governed by mathematical rules. He says that number, numerical ratios, and mathematical actions can be used to explain the very structure of the cosmos. He does not totally dismiss the Milesian idea that the universe is made up of one fundamental substance, but he shifts the inquiry from substance to form. This was a profound change in the way of looking at the world, that we should probably forgive Pythagoras and his disciples for getting somewhat carried away and giving numbers a mystical significance. Through exploring the relationship between numbers and geometry, they discovered the square numbers and cube numbers that we speak of today, but they also attributed characteristics to them, such as good to the even numbers and evil to the odd ones, and even specifics such as justice to the number 4 and so on. The number 10 in the form of tetractys had a particular significance in Pythagorean ritual. Less contentiously, they saw the number 1 as a single point, a unity from which other things could be derived. The number 2 in this way of thinking was a line, number 3 a surface or a plane, and 4 a solid. The correspondence with our modern concept of dimension is obvious. The Pythagorean explanation of the creation of the universe followed a mathematical pattern on the unlimited or the infinite that existed before the universe. God imposed a limit so that all that exists came to have an actual size, and in this way, God created a measurable unity from which everything else was formed. Pythagoras also established the principle of deductive reasoning, which is the step-by-step process of starting with self-evident actions to build toward a new conclusion or fact. Deductive reasoning was later refined by Euclid, and it formed the basis of mathematical thinking into medieval times and beyond. One of Pythagoras' most important contributions to the development of philosophy was the idea that abstract thinking is superior to the evidence of the senses. This was taken up by Plato in his theory of forms and resurfaced in the philosophical method of the rationalists in the 17th century. The Pythagorean attempt to combine rational with the religious was the first attempt to grapple with the problem that has dogged philosophy and religion in some ways ever since. Almost everything we know about Pythagoras comes to us from others. Even the bare facts of his life are largely conjecture. Yet he has achieved a near legendary status, for the ideas attributed to him, whether or not he was in fact the originator of these ideas, does not really matter. What is important is their profound effect on the philosophical thought.